Hey Freddy, nice to see you.
Likewise, always a pleasure.
Natalie dressed as ever.
I try my best. I'm trying to bring ties back this year. Feel like there's not enough ties at Namm.
If I remember correctly, you had a fine set of braces last time that we maybe...
See, you're the second person who said something like this. I have no recollection of wearing braces, but someone else said that they remember me wearing a bow tie in a previous year.
Maybe that was that, yeah.
I also don't remember that, and I don't know if I'm just going mad. But you know, I'm happy to make this impression on people, regardless.
Sometimes it's good to have people the urban myth to surround you, and you
Exactly. People being like, yeah, Freddy turned up wearing a bulletproof vest and a knee-length leather trench coat to Namm in 2023.
Be a strong look.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
What's going on with NuGen then?
So we don't have anything new for the show this year. We're more just kind of maintaining what's come before and prepping for some really exciting new stuff over the next year or so. So in terms of recent-ish stuff, we've put out a bunch of new utility plugins. So there's AB Assist 2, which you can see just here. We also have Jotter, Sigmod, and Aligner, which is our automatic phase alignment tool. The four of those recently got grouped together in our utility toolkit. So that's a new bundle of pre-existing plugins, but that is kind of the newest thing we've got. In terms of upcoming things, we're really excited about VisLM 3 coming soon. So VisLM is our kind of flagship product. That is our timecode lock loudness meter with a history function. VisLM 3, we announced a little while ago, but unfortunately there's been a few speed bumps, which, you know, that's how these things go.
It's software, isn't it?
As soon as you think something's close to being finished, it all just goes horribly, horribly wrong. So we announced it a little while ago. It hasn't come out just yet, but it's going to be imminent. I'm reluctant to give a specific date.
So I guess one of the big, because I don't think I've spoken to you for a little while, and I guess one of the big, we've got two major advances. We've got obviously native Mac processors, which I know that's been a little while, but now the new Snapdragon stuff. Is that something that's on your radar? Are you supporting that natively yet, or is that something you're interested in?
Do you know? I don't believe that's something that's on our radar. Radar? I can't even say radar. But yeah, I guess like the big changes for us with the new VisLM are we've added in kind of three major new features. So the first thing is that we're adding in stem monitoring. At least that's what we're calling it. What we mean by stem monitoring is that if you have multiple instances of VisLM in a session, they will automatically communicate with each other. So say, for example, you've got VisLM monitoring the loudness of your main mix bus and also whatever other kind of auxes you've got. In the post world, the really obvious thing would be you've got your mix bus, you've got your dialogue, your music, your effects. Obviously in the music world, that could be all kinds of different things. But if you want to see the loudness information for all of those, as it stands, if you use VisLM 2 or any other loudness meter, to be honest, you're going to have however many plugin windows open.
So I suppose that the use of that would be which of these stems or which of these elements is kicking it over the...
Exactly, right. And to have more of a sort of a full view. So basically, you'll be able to see the loudness information for all of your instances of VisLM within one plugin window. We're also adding in loudness segments. So again, in audio post, the main use case for that is there's a lot of people who, I'm speaking to a lot of audio engineers who are finding they're being asked, rather than for a loudness target for an entire program, they're being asked to hit a loudness target for every segment between ad breaks, which makes a lot of sense for the broadcaster, but for an audio engineer working on a mix of a TV show,
dynamics
that's a real pain. So what we've done is we've added in the ability to have timestamp defined segments, and each of those can have the loudness measured independently. In the music world, that's also really useful if you're, say, mixing or mastering a full album in the same session. More and more I'm hearing about engineers who are doing that, having one Pro Tools session or Logic session or whatever it is for the entire album so that they can get that consistency of a mix across the whole thing. So having VisLM with the loudness segments means that you can
check
measure
for each
all
track.
those independently.
So I mean, I guess NuGen are kind of known for metering and monitoring, and that, that's your kind of speciality. Which
exactly.
is, I mean, for those perhaps who aren't fully up to speed, I mean, these LUFS and DBFS, they're all important things when you're delivering to a final medium, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I actually gave a talk about this specific thing on the exchange stage over there earlier today, talking about how I think it's easy to have this idea that the loudness war is sort of over because all the main ways that people listen to music, i.e. the major streaming platforms, are all normalizing it to their own loudness spec anyway.
Yeah.
But actually, if anything, that gives so many more considerations for loudness and why you might want to think about loudness, because it's like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, all those major platforms each have their own loudness standard that they normalize things towards. YouTube has its own loudness standard that they, as far as I can tell, don't even consistently adhere to. So that's a whole other kind of worms.
Is there a sort of lowest common denominator? So if you're under this, then you're okay for most of it, and then maybe the auto algorithm of their thing will bring the ceiling up if you've set the dynamics range that you want.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a thing, or is
So
that
I
a
would
bit
say
too naive?
that a really good kind of one size fits all is mastering towards -14 LUFS. That should keep you really good on pretty much all of the major streaming platforms. But people still master way louder than that all the time. And there's so many reasons for that. Partly just that a loud master sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
So there's all these kind of considerations to have. As well, SoundCloud doesn't do anything loudness-wise. So if you listen to anything on SoundCloud or Bandcamp, for example, things are insanely loud. And that in itself, as much as NuGen, I think we're seen as being quite stuffy and trying to get everyone to follow the rules in terms of loudness. But even I have to admit that there's something really exciting about a really loud master. But yeah, the point I'm getting at is MasterCheck is kind of our more music-focused loudness meter that people have used for a long time. I think in the music world, that's what we're probably known for. But actually, using like a way more heavy-duty loudness meter like VisLM, like the new version VisLM 3, probably is starting to make a lot more sense just because of how many different considerations and how many different things we're sort of being expected to hold in our minds as mixing engineers or mastering engineers or whatever it is.
Would one as an engineer process your mix differently to hit that, or would you just try and reduce the overall bus out for the final deliverable file? Because I mean, if you've got to do a different mix for everyone, I
think that's a misconception that some people have, is that they have to do a different mix or a different master for every platform. You absolutely can do that. No one's stopping you, but I don't think that's an expectation. But in terms of when you're talking about like, is this something to consider throughout the whole mix? There's some really interesting conversations we've been having internally at NuGen about this idea of like micro dynamics versus macro dynamics, and sort of how you can almost game the system in some ways, in terms of if you want your track to seem really loud, if you balance out really loud sections with really quiet sections, then the only measurement that these platforms are focusing on really is the integrated loudness. So you could have a whole section that's like -6 LUFS, and as long as you have quiet sections to balance that out, there's all kinds of.
Because it takes the average.
Yeah,
okay.
You can
right.
you can. Yeah, like I say,
which is
kind
what
of game
people
the
will
system,
do, isn't it?
Which
Yeah.
absolutely what people will do, and it's I think that stuff's really exciting. And as much as the reason for there being these normalized kind of loudness standards is to try and give people a consistent listening experience, I think the way that mix engineers and mastering engineers and producers try and overcome that in itself is actually really, really exciting.
Well, it's creative limitations, which have always been a thing in music or any sort of art form. So, and that is a creative or technical limitation, I guess. Yeah.
Totally. And, we were talking about the segments that we're adding into VisLM. Using something like that in order to actually measure each kind of, each verse, each chorus, each section of a song, and kind of try and push the loudness specifically of certain sections, I think it'd be a really interesting way to work. And so, I'm hoping, as much as VisLM is an audio post tool, I'm really hoping that this new version might bring in some users from elsewhere who are starting to think about loudness in new ways. I've been hearing master engineers talking about positive LUFS measurements even, which to me seems really scary, but it's, you know, it's all just exciting progress.
Excellent. So I guess people can find out more about your products, obviously at NuGen, and
absolutely. Yeah. I think the talk that I gave earlier today, I think is going to be on YouTube later. There's all kinds of resources that we have on our website talking about loudness, kind of giving loudness 101 for people who might not know the first thing about it. I know for me personally, certainly before I worked at NuGen, I can remember absolutely banging my head against the wall trying to understand why my mix was like supposedly clipping above where it needed to, but felt so quiet. So, you know, there's all kinds of resources that that we provide at NuGen for learning about loudness, learning how to make it serve you and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Freddy, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks a lot.